Captain Taejun Kim stood at the viewing window of the Earth diplomatic vessel Horizon, watching the massive space station grow larger. His heart beat faster. This was it, humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. Nervous, Captain? Asked Ambassador Sumi Park, joining him at the window. Her formal blue uniform looked perfect, not a wrinkle in sight. A little, Taejun said. Wouldn't you be? We're about to meet beings from 27 different worlds. Sumi smiled. And they're about to meet their first humans. I wonder who will be more surprised. The horizon slowed as it approached the docking bay. Taejun watched the stars disappear as they entered the massive metal structure. With a soft bump and hiss, the ship locked into place. Docking complete, announced the ship's computer. External atmosphere compatible with human breathing. Temperature 22 degrees Celsius. At least they made it comfortable for us, said Ji-Ho Lee, the team's lead scientist. He checked his tablet one more time. Though I'm told most council species prefer it much colder. Taejun nodded to his team of 5. Remember your training. Be respectful, be honest, and most importantly, be human. That's what they want to see. The airlock door slid open with a hiss. A long, bright hallway stretched before them. At the end stood 4 aliens of different species waiting. Here we go, whispered Taejun. He stepped forward, leading his team into humanity's future. The council chamber was enormous. A round room with seats arranged in rising circles, it reminded Taejun of pictures he'd seen of the United Nations, but much bigger. Nearly 100 aliens filled the seats, their bodies ranging from almost human-like to completely strange. In the center stood a platform where Taejun and his team now waited. The universal translators in their ears hummed softly, ready to convert alien speech to Korean or English. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms rose from the highest seat. We welcome the representatives of Earth to the Galactic Council, it said, voice deep and slow. I am High Counselor Vex of the Alteran Confederation, current leader of this assembly. Sumi stepped forward and bowed deeply. Thank you for your welcome, High Counselor. I am Ambassador Sumi Park of Earth. We bring greetings and friendship from all humans. Vex nodded his large head. Tell us of your world, Ambassador. Many here know little of Earth. Sumi turned to Ji-Ho, who activated a holographic display. A beautiful blue-green planet appeared above their heads, slowly spinning. Earth is our homeworld, Sumi began. A planet of great diversity, oceans and mountains, deserts and forests. Our people have spread across its surface, building civilizations that have existed for thousands of years. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A reptilian alien with scales that shifted colors leaned forward. You claim this is your homeworld? The reptilian asked, voice full of doubt. Our records show this. Planet is classified as Deathworld 7 in the Standard Index. Taejun felt his team tense beside him. This was not how they expected the meeting to begin. Yes, Ji-Ho confirmed, stepping forward. Earth is where humans evolved. It is our home. The chamber erupted with sounds of surprise and disbelief. Taejun watched as aliens turned to each other, gesturing wildly. The universal translators struggled to keep up with multiple conversations. Silence, commanded Vex. The room quieted. Scientist Ji-Ho Lee, please explain. Our records indicate Deathworld 7, your Earth, has extreme environmental conditions. High gravity, atmospheric oxygen levels that cause accelerated oxidation, dangerous radiation from your sun, extreme temperature variations, and high levels of seismic activity. Ji-Ho nodded calmly. All true, High Counselor. These are normal conditions for us. An alien with feathery skin and no visible eyes spoke next. And the biological threats? Our probes detected over 8 million distinct species on your world, including thousands of predatory organisms and microbes that would be fatal to most sentient life. Also true, Ji-Ho confirmed. Earth has extensive biodiversity. Many species are dangerous, but we have adapted to live alongside them. Impossible, said a new voice. A tall, thin alien with pale skin stood up. I am Lord Nyx of the Veldari. No sentient species could evolve on such a planet. The pressures would be too great. Taejun decided it was time to speak. With respect, Lord Nix, we did evolve there. Humans are adaptable. What you call extreme, we call home. Then you must have modified yourselves genetically, said another, alien. No natural species could survive such conditions. We have not, said Jiho firmly. Our genetic science is still developing. We are as nature made us. The whispers grew louder. Taejun heard fragments of conversation from nearby aliens. Must be lying, or perhaps very stupid. Won't last a standard cycle in civilized space. Sumi raised her hand, waiting for quiet. Council members, I understand your surprise, but humans have not only survived on Earth, we have thrived. We have built civilizations, created art, developed science, and now reached the stars. And what of the apex predators on your world? Asked a small, furry alien. Our data shows creatures weighing hundreds of kilograms with natural weapons capable of killing your kind instantly. Taejun smiled. Some of us work with those creatures. We have domesticated many species over thousands of years. This statement caused the greatest reaction yet. Several aliens stood up, speaking all at once. The translators couldn't keep up. Taejun caught words like madness and death wish among the alien chatter. High Counselor Vex raised all four hands for silence. Captain Taejun Kim, are you claiming humans regularly interact with dangerous predatory species? Yes, Taejun said simply. Some we keep as companions in our homes. Others we work with for hunting or protection. Some we study. Many we protect. From extinction. An alien with metallic skin made a sound like scraping metal. The translator interpreted it as laughter. The primitives are entertaining at least, it said. Next, they will claim they ride their predators into battle. Ji-ho coughed softly. Actually, humans have done that too for thousands of years. The council chamber went completely silent. Sumi stepped forward again. Council members, we understand your disbelief. Perhaps seeing would be more convincing than hearing. We invite a delegation to visit Earth, see how we live, meet our people, then judge whether humans belong among the stars. The aliens began talking among themselves again. Finally, High Counselor Vex spoke. The Council will consider your invitation, Ambassador Park. However, I must warn you that bringing organisms from a death planet into Council space violates numerous safety regulations. We understand, said Sumi. We will follow all safety protocols. Vex nodded slowly. This meeting is adjourned for now. The human delegation will remain on station while we discuss this matter. As the aliens filed out, Taejun gathered his team in a tight circle. That could have gone better, he said quietly. Or worse, Sumi replied. At least they're talking to us. Jiho looked worried. They think we're either lying or crazy. How do we prove humans are special? Taejun looked at the empty council chamber thinking. Finally, he smiled. If they want proof of what makes humans different, he said, we'll need to show them something they've never seen before, something only humans could do. Like what? Asked Sumi. Taejun's smile grew wider, like taming the monsters that even aliens fear. 3 days later, the Horizon returned to Earth carrying not only the human diplomatic team but also 6 alien observers. The Council had agreed to send representatives to see Earth firsthand. Taejun stood in the ship's meeting room with his team, planning their next steps. The aliens had remained in their quarters during the journey, adjusting to the ship's Earth-normal conditions. We need something impressive, Sumi said. Something that shows what makes humans special. Jiho tapped his tablet. I've been thinking about that. The aliens are most shocked by our relationship with Earth's predators. That's where we should focus. But what predator? Asked Taejun. It needs to be impressive but also show our connection. Clearly. The door slid open and a woman in a green uniform entered. Her face was tanned from working outdoors and her black hair was tied back in a practical ponytail. Captain Kim? I'm Do-Yeon Choi from the Korean Wildlife Conservation Service. You requested a wildlife expert. Tae-jun nodded. Thank you for coming, Ranger Choi. We need your help with our alien visitors. Do-Yeon looked surprised. I work with endangered species, not aliens. Exactly, said Tae-jun with a smile. The aliens think we're crazy for living on what they call a death world. They don't understand how humans survive alongside Earth's predators. Do-Yeon listened as the team explained the situation. When they finished, she nodded slowly. I think I can help, she said. I've been working on a special rehabilitation project. It might be perfect for showing aliens what humans can do. The next morning, Tae-jun and his team led the alien delegation to a wildlife reserve 2 hours from Seoul. The aliens traveled in a special vehicle with filtered air and adjusted gravity. They looked miserable despite these comforts. This atmosphere is dangerously oxygen-rich, complained Dr. Kelvin, the lead alien scientist from the Arcturus system. His blue skin had a sickly pale tint. And the gravity is crushing me. We're taking all possible safety precautions, Ji-ho assured him. The viewing area is protected and environmentally controlled. What exactly are we going to see? Asked. Another alien, a furry being named Tist. A demonstration of human-wildlife interaction, Sumi said. One of our most impressive predator species. The vehicle stopped at a modern building nestled in the wooded hills. Do-Yeon met them at the entrance dressed in her ranger uniform. She led the group through the building to a large window overlooking a forested enclosure. Welcome to the Siberian Tiger Rehabilitation Center, Do-Yeon said. This facility helps injured tigers recover before returning to the wild. The aliens pressed against the window, their many eyes widening at the sight of the enclosure. What is a tiger? Asked Dr. Kelvin. As if answering the question, a massive orange and black striped cat walked into view. It was the size of a small car, muscles rippling under its thick fur. When it yawned, it revealed teeth as long as human fingers. That, said, Do-Yeon is a Siberian tiger, one of Earth's apex predators. The aliens backed away from the window. You keep death beasts as pets? Gasped Tist. Do-Yeon laughed. Not as pets. These are wild animals. But the tiger you're looking at has a special story. We call her Storm. She explained how Storm had been found 3 years ago with 2 cubs. Poachers had injured the mother tiger, but Do-Yeon's team rescued them. While caring for Storm's wounds, Do-Yeon had formed an unusual bond with the massive predator. Most tigers remain completely wild, she said, but occasionally one will form a connection with a human. Storm tolerates me in a way she doesn't. With others. Dr. Kelvin's translator made a skeptical buzzing sound. You expect us to believe you interact safely with this monster? Do-Yeon smiled. I don't expect you to believe it. I'll show you. Before anyone could stop her, Do-Yeon walked to a side door marked staff only. Wait, called Tae-jun. Is this safe? Safe enough, Do-Yeon replied. Storm knows me, but stay behind the glass. The aliens watched in horror as Do-Yeon entered the enclosure. Dr. Kelvin turned to Tae-jun, his blue face now almost white. Stop her. Your human is committing suicide. She knows what she's doing, Tae-jun said calmly, though his heart was racing. He hadn't expected such a dangerous demonstration. Through the window. They watched Do-Yeon walk slowly into the open area. She carried a small bag at her hip but had no weapons or protection. She stopped in the center of the clearing and called out in a clear, calm voice. Storm, come say hello, girl. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the bushes rustled, and the massive tiger emerged. It moved silently despite its size, amber eyes fixed on the small human woman. The aliens made distressed noises. Tezit covered all 4 of his eyes with his furry hands. I can't watch this primitive be devoured, he moaned. The tiger approached Do-Yeon slowly. When it was just meters away, it lowered its head and made a rumbling sound deep in its throat. That's my good girl, said Do-Yeon, her voice steady. She reached into her bag and pulled out what looked like a large piece of meat. Hungry? The tiger sat on its haunches, tail swishing. Do-Yeon tossed the meat which the tiger caught in its massive jaws. Then, to everyone's amazement, Do-Yan stepped closer to the beast. "She's going to die," whispered Dr. Kelvin. But Do-Yan didn't die. Instead, she reached out one hand, palm down, and let the tiger sniff her. Then slowly, she placed her hand on the tiger's massive head and stroked its fur. The aliens were completely silent, frozen in shock. Storm was suspicious of humans after being shot by poachers, Do-Yan explained loudly enough for them to hear through the glass. "It took months of patient work to earn her trust. Now she lets me check her injuries and help when she's sick." As if demonstrating, Storm lay down on the grass. Do-Yan knelt beside the giant cat and examined a healing scar on its shoulder. The tiger remained still, watching the woman with those intelligent amber eyes. When Do-Yan finished, she gave the tiger's head one more pat and then walked backward toward the exit. Storm watched her go, then stood up and disappeared back into the trees. Do-Yan returned to the viewing room. The aliens stared at her as if she had performed magic. "How did you survive?" asked Dr. Kelvin, his voice barely a whisper. "Understanding and respect," Do-Yan said simply. "Storm knows I won't hurt her and I know her limits. It's a relationship." "Impossible," said another alien. "Predators do not form relationships. They kill or are killed." Taejun stepped forward. "That's where you're wrong. On Earth, humans have learned to connect with all kinds of creatures. What you just saw isn't even the most impressive example." Dr. Kelvin's many-lidded eyes blinked rapidly. "There's more? Much more," said Sumi with a smile. "This is only the beginning of what humans can do." As they left the viewing area, Taejun noticed the aliens looking at Do-Yan with new eyes. Not with contempt, but with the beginning of something that might one day become respect. "That was just one example," Taejun told the alien delegation as they boarded their transport. "We have more to show you." The aliens had been unusually quiet since watching Do-Yan interact with Storm. Dr. Kelvin sat stiffly in his seat, his blue fingers tapping on his datapad. "I must note," he finally said, "that while impressive, a single trained animal is not conclusive evidence of anything. Perhaps this tiger is defective or has brain damage." Sumi smiled politely. "Then you'll appreciate our next stop." The transport took them to a military training facility near the coast. As they approached, Taejun explained that humans had worked with many animals throughout history, including some that had once been wild predators. "Dogs are perhaps our oldest animal partners," he said. "Their ancestors were wolves, pack hunters that could bring down prey much larger than themselves." The transport stopped and the group disembarked. A tall man in a military uniform waited for them. His posture was perfect and his face serious. "This is Security Chief Han Jun Kang," Taejun said. "He works with our military's K9 units." Han Jun bowed slightly. "Welcome to our training facility. I understand you wish to see how humans work with canines." Dr. Kelvin looked unimpressed. "More tamed beasts?" "Not tamed," Han Jun corrected. "Trained. There's a difference. Please follow me." The aliens stayed inside their protective environmental suits as Han Jun led them to a fenced training yard. Inside, 6 large dogs of different breeds sat in a perfect line. Each dog was alert, eyes fixed on a woman standing before them. "These are some of our working dogs," Han Jun explained. "They help with security, rescue operations, and detecting dangerous substances." Tsit made a skeptical sound. "They look small compared to the death beast we saw earlier." Han Jun smiled slightly. "Size isn't everything. Dogs have abilities humans lack. Their sense of smell is about 10,000 times more sensitive than ours. They can hear sounds we cannot. And they are both strong and fast." He nodded to the trainer, who gave a hand signal. The dogs immediately stood at attention. "Watch carefully," said Han Jun. What followed amazed even Taejun, who had seen military dogs work before. The trainer put the dogs through a series of complex exercises. They jumped over high walls, crawled under wire, and found hidden objects using only their sense of smell. When fake attackers appeared, the dogs disabled them with precision, targeting arms or legs without causing serious injury. Most impressive was when the trainer had the dogs work in teams, with some creating distractions while others completed objectives. The coordination was perfect. These animals understand complex commands, Dr. Kelvin observed, his voice betraying his surprise. They work together strategically. Yes, said Han Jun. Dogs evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. They can read our emotions, understand our intentions, and communicate their own needs to us. It's a partnership that benefits both species. The demonstration ended with the dogs returning to their calm, alert sitting position. The trainer walked down the line, patting each one and giving them treats. You reward them with food? Asked another alien observer. Food, praise, play, and affection, Han Jun confirmed. Dogs are social animals. They want to please their pack members, which includes humans. Dr. Kelvin made notes on his datapad. Fascinating behavioral modification techniques. It's more than training, Sumi said gently. It's a relationship, based on trust and understanding. Dogs choose to work with us. To demonstrate this point, Han Jun invited the aliens to watch as he released the dogs from duty. Immediately, their serious demeanor vanished. They played, rolled on the ground, and sought affection from their handlers. One large German shepherd leaned against its human partner, tail wagging happily as the woman scratched behind its ears. You see, said Taijun, these are not slaves or machines. They're partners who enjoy their work. The aliens watched in silence. Taijun could see they were struggling to understand what they were seeing. The final demonstration of the day took place at a wildlife rehabilitation center. Here they met Yunji Yun, a veterinarian who specialized in birds of prey. Birds? Scoffed Dr. Kelvin. After predatory mammals, this seems less impressive. Yunji smiled as she led them into a large open room with a high ceiling. Don't judge too quickly, Doctor. Earth's raptors are descendants of dinosaurs, some of the most efficient predators in our planet's history. She whistled softly, and a moment later, something swooped down from a high perch. The aliens flinched as a massive bird landed on Yunji's outstretched arm, which was protected by a thick leather glove. This is Hana, a golden eagle, Yunji said. She has a wingspan of over 2 meters and talons that can exert about 400 pounds of pressure per square inch, enough to crush bone. Eagle was magnificent, with dark brown feathers and intense golden eyes that seemed to look through the aliens. She shifted on Yunji's arm, massive wings adjusting slightly. Birds like Hana have vision 8 times sharper than humans, Yunji continued. They can spot a rabbit from over a kilometer away and dive at speeds of more than 240 kilometers per hour. And yet you hold this killing machine on your arm, said Dr. Kelvin, his voice a mix of fear and fascination. Humans have worked with eagles for thousands of years, Yunji explained. In many cultures, falconry, hunting with birds of prey, was considered an art form. To demonstrate, Yunji walked to the center of the room and gave a hand signal. Hana immediately launched from her arm and flew to a perch on the far side. Yunji then placed a small piece of meat on a target and stepped back. With another signal, Hana dove from her perch, swooped across the room, and snatched the meat with precision before returning to Yunji's arm. The demonstration continued with increasingly complex behaviors, showing the eagle's intelligence and training. The relationship between a falconer and bird takes years to develop, Yunji explained as Hana calmly ate a reward. It's based on mutual benefit and respect, not domination. Dr. Kelvin watched the eagle carefully. Yet these are wild animals. They could kill you easily. They could, Yunji agreed. But they choose not to. That's what makes the relationship special. As the day's demonstrations ended and the alien delegation prepared to return to their ship, Taijun noticed they were talking among themselves more urgently than before. Their body language, as alien as it was, suggested deep confusion and reassessment. Dr. Kelvin approached Taijun as they boarded the transport. Captain Kim, he said stiffly, while today's demonstrations were educational, I remained skeptical. Oh? Said Taijun. About what? These could be specially bred specimens or even genetically modified to be docile. They may not represent true wild creatures from your death world. Taijun smiled. What would convince you, Doctor? Dr. Kelvin's multi-lidded eyes blinked in sequence. I would need to see humans interact with truly wild creatures in their natural environment, not in controlled settings. Tae-jun looked at Sumi, who nodded slightly. That can be arranged, Tae-jun said. But I should warn you, Earth's wilderness is much less controlled than what you've seen today. Are you prepared for that? We are scientists, Dr. Kelvin said proudly. We will observe, no matter the circumstances. As the transport lifted off, Tae-jun wondered if the aliens truly understood what they were asking for. Earth's wild places were beautiful, but could be dangerous even for humans. For aliens who found Earth's basic conditions barely tolerable, a journey into the wilderness would be a significant challenge. But perhaps that was exactly what they needed to see. The next morning dawned cool and clear. Tae-jun's team had arranged for the alien delegation to visit a mountain forest reserve. Here, they could observe humans working in a less controlled natural environment. This is a mistake, Jiho whispered, as they prepared the transport. The weather report shows a storm system moving in later today. It will be fine, Tae-jun assured him. We'll be back before any bad weather arrives. Do-yeon had joined them again, along with Han-jun and two of his military dogs. Storm, the tiger, remained at the rehabilitation center, but Do-yeon had brought along special tracking equipment to show how humans monitored wild animals. The aliens boarded their protected transport with obvious reluctance. Through the clear walls of their environmental bubble, Dr. Kelvin looked pale. Your atmospheric oxygen levels are even higher in these mountains, he complained, and the temperature fluctuations are extreme. It's a beautiful day by human standards, Sumi said cheerfully. Only about 15 degrees Celsius, low humidity, and fresh air. The transport traveled up winding mountain roads until they reached a modern observation facility perched on a ridge. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the forested valleys below. A series of hiking trails led away from the building into the wilderness. This facility monitors wildlife in the reserve, Do-yeon explained as they entered. We track several endangered species here and study their behavior. The aliens stayed close to their transport while the humans set up equipment. Do-yeon showed them live feeds from cameras hidden throughout the forest. On the screens, they could see deer drinking from a stream, a fox hunting for mice, and birds building nests. Remarkable biodiversity, admitted Dr. Kelvin, watching the screens with interest. And all these species coexist? In a balance, said Do-yeon. Predators and prey, plants and animals, each has its place in the ecosystem. Han-jun's dog sat alert by the door, occasionally sniffing the air. The larger one, a Belgian Malinois, named Ranger, suddenly stood up and growled softly. What's wrong? Asked Tae-jun. Han-jun frowned. He senses something. He checked his weather device. The barometric pressure is dropping rapidly. The storm might be coming sooner than expected. As if confirming his words, the sky outside darkened. Clouds rolled in over the mountains with surprising speed, and the wind began to pick up. We should return to the city, said Dr. Kelvin nervously. This facility seems inadequately protected against extreme weather. The observation building is perfectly safe, Sumi assured him. It was built to withstand much worse than a thunderstorm. But as the minutes passed, the storm grew stronger. Rain lashed against the windows and thunder boomed through the valleys. The dogs became increasingly agitated. This isn't normal, Do-yeon said, checking her own equipment. The storm wasn't supposed to be this intense. Suddenly, a flash of lightning struck somewhere very close. The lights flickered and went out. Emergency lighting came on a moment later, casting the room in a dim glow. No need for concern, Tae-jun said calmly to the aliens, who had huddled together in fear. The backup systems. He was interrupted by a loud rumbling sound that seemed to come from the mountain itself. The floor trembled beneath them. Landslide, shouted Han-jun. Everyone away from the windows. They barely had time to move before the world outside turned to chaos. A wall of mud, rocks, and trees crashed down the mountainside beside the facility. The building shook but held firm. However, the aliens' transport, parked on a pad outside, was hit by the edge of the slide. It tipped onto its side, partially buried in mud. Our ship, cried Tezet. Our environmental controls. Is everyone all right? Taejun called out, checking his team. The humans had all managed to stay on their feet, but 2 of the aliens had fallen. Sumi helped them up while Jiho assessed the damage. Communications are down, he reported, and I can't get a signal on any device. Dr. Kelvin's breathing had become rapid and shallow. Our environmental suits have limited oxygen reserves, without the ship's support. In this toxic atmosphere, we have perhaps 6 hours before systems failure. Taejun looked out at the devastation. The road they had used was completely gone, washed away by the landslide. The rain continued to pour, and more rumbling suggested further landslides might follow. We need to get help, he said decisively. Jiho, stay here with Ambassador Park and the aliens. Keep them calm and conserve their oxygen. Hanjun, Do-yeon, and I will go for help. Go where? Asked Dr. Kelvin. Through that death trap of a forest? There's another research station about 5 kilometers down the valley, Do-yeon said. It has communications equipment and medical supplies. We can call for an emergency evacuation from there. The aliens looked horrified at the idea of the humans venturing into the storm. You'll never make it, said one alien. The conditions are lethal. Hanjun checked his gear. We've trained for worse. The dogs will help us navigate. The dogs? Dr. Kelvin looked confused. Yes, said Do-yeon. They can find the safest path, warn us of dangers, and help if any of us is injured. Taejun spoke quietly to Sumi. Keep them calm. We'll move as fast as we can. She nodded. Be careful out there. The 3 humans prepared quickly, putting on rain gear and gathering emergency supplies. Hanjun checked his dogs' protective vests and gave them each a quick command. Both animals immediately became serious and alert, ready for work. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Kelvin approached Taejun. Captain, he said, his voice unsteady, I calculate your chances of survival at less than 40% in these conditions. Then it's good we don't rely only on calculations, Taejun replied with a smile. Sometimes, Doctor, you have to trust in abilities that can't be measured. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the 3 humans and 2 dogs stepped out into the howling storm. The wind nearly knocked them off their feet and the rain came down in sheets. But they leaned into it and began making their way down the destroyed path. Ranger took the lead, carefully testing each step before proceeding. The second dog, a black Labrador named Shadow, stayed close to Do-yeon. The humans moved steadily, supporting each other when needed. From the window of the observation building, Dr. Kelvin watched them disappear into the gloom. Remarkable, he murmured. They're actually attempting it. Of course they are, said Jiho. That's what humans do. We adapt, we help each other, and we don't give up. As the hours passed, the aliens' environmental systems began to show signs of strain. The oxygen levels dropped, and their life support alarms started to beep softly. Dr. Kelvin grew increasingly anxious. They won't make it back in time, he said. Your atmosphere will kill us. Just as hope seemed to be fading, they heard a new sound outside, the whirring of engines. A large rescue helicopter appeared through the clouds, hovering above the damaged facility. A team of rescue workers rappelled down to the building. The lead rescuer burst through the door, her face concerned but professional. Is everyone all right? She called out. We received your emergency signal and came as fast as we could. Emergency signal? Asked Sumi, confused. Our communications were down. The rescuer smiled. We didn't get a call. We got this. She held up her hand. In it was a small GPS transmitter covered in mud but still blinking. Your team rigged this to one of the dogs. The animal made it to the research station through the storm and landslides. Smartest thing I've ever seen. The aliens stared in disbelief as the rescue team quickly prepared them for evacuation. As they were being loaded into the helicopter, Dr. Kelvin turned to Jiho. Where are the humans who went for help? He asked. They stayed behind to guide the rescue team to you, the rescuer explained. They're waiting at the research station, said they wanted to make sure you all got out safely first. As the helicopter lifted off, carrying the aliens to safety, Doctor. Kelvin looked down at the wild, storm-lashed forest below. Somewhere down there, 3 humans and 1 remarkable dog had risked everything to save beings from another world, beings who had dismissed them as primitives from a death world. For the first time, Dr. Kelvin wondered if perhaps his people had been wrong about humans all along. 2 months passed. The Galactic Council had called a special session to discuss Earth's application for membership. Captain Kim and Ambassador Sumi Park stood once again in the center of the great circular chamber, waiting for the Council's decision. This time the mood was different. Instead of skeptical stares, many alien representatives looked at the humans with interest. Some even offered what might have been smiles, though with so many different species, it was hard to tell. Hi, Counselor Vex rose from his seat. Representatives of Earth, we have reviewed the reports from our observation team. Dr. Kelvin has been most insistent that we reconsider our initial assessment of your species. Taejun glanced at Dr. Kelvin, who sat nearby. The blue-skinned alien looked different somehow, more confident, less fearful. He had spent the week since the mountain rescue studying everything he could about Earth and its inhabitants. Before we announce our decision, Vex continued, Lord Nix of the Veldari has asked to speak. Taejun tensed. Lord Nix had been their harshest critic during the first meeting. The tall, thin alien rose from his seat and looked down at the humans. When you first came before this council, Nix began, his voice carrying through the chamber, I believed you did not belong here. I thought creatures from a death world could never understand the principles of peace and cooperation that guide our galactic community. He paused, looking around the room. I was wrong. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Lord Nix rarely admitted error. Dr. Kelvin's report describes something unprecedented, Nix continued. These humans not only survived their harsh world, they formed partnerships with its most dangerous inhabitants. They turned potential enemies into allies. Nix's pale eyes fixed on Taejun. What I now understand is that humans possess a quality rare in the galaxy, the ability to connect with other species, to communicate across boundaries that seem impossible to cross. Perhaps this is precisely because they evolved on a world where cooperation meant survival. He turned to the council. I move that we accept Earth's application for membership. What we first saw as their greatest weakness may in fact be their greatest strength. High Counselor Vex nodded. The council has voted. Earth's application has been approved unanimously. Sumi bowed deeply. We thank the council for this honor. Earth looks forward to joining the galactic community. There is more, said Vex. The Council has established a new division dedicated to the study of Deathworld ecosystems and the species that evolve in such environments. Dr. Kelvin has volunteered to lead this initiative. Dr. Kelvin stood. With the humans' permission, I would like to establish a research center on Earth. There is much we can learn from your world and your people. We would be honored, Taejun said, surprised by the request. After the formal proceedings concluded, Taejun and Sumi joined Dr. Kelvin in a smaller meeting room. The alien scientist seemed eager to discuss his plans. I never imagined I would willingly return to a death world, he said, but I cannot stop thinking about what I witnessed there, particularly your relationship with Earth's predators. Speaking of which, said Sumi with a smile, we've arranged something special for the council representatives who are interested. Would you care to join us? 1 week later, Taejun stood, with Dr. Kelvin and several other alien scientists at the edge of a vast nature preserve. Duyan was with them, along with a small team of wildlife experts. The aliens wore protective suits, but Dr. Kelvin had modified his to be less restrictive. What? Are we observing today? Asked one of the alien scientists, looking nervously at the dense forest before them. A tiger release, Doyan explained. Storm's cubs are now old enough to return to the wild. She pointed to a large transport container being carefully moved into position at the forest edge. Through viewing slits, they could see movement inside. 2 young tigers, nearly full-grown but still smaller than their mother. Where is the adult female? Asked Dr. Kelvin. The one you call Storm? Do-yeon smiled. She's already here watching us. She's been free for months but returns occasionally to check on her cubs. The aliens looked around nervously, scanning the tree line. Don't worry, Do-yeon assured them. She won't come close while you're here. She tolerates me, but she's still a wild animal who prefers to avoid strange creatures. The release team opened the container door remotely. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, cautiously, the two young tigers emerged. They sniffed the air, their powerful muscles tense and ready. With one final look back at the humans, they bounded into the forest and disappeared. That's it? Asked one disappointed alien. They just left? What did you expect? Asked Taejun. A goodbye party? They're returning to where they belong, Do-yeon explained. Our job isn't to keep them, it's to make sure they can survive on their own. Dr. Kelvin studied Do-yeon carefully. I still don't fully understand. You saved these animals, cared for them, formed bonds with them, only to send them away? Do-yeon nodded. That's the point. We protect them not because they're ours, but because they share our world. They have their own lives to live. A curious philosophy, said Dr. Kelvin. On most worlds, sentient species either fear predators or eliminate them. We tried that approach once, Taejun said quietly. It nearly destroyed our ecosystems. We've learned that every species has a role to play. As the group prepared to, leave, Do-yeon suddenly held up her hand, signaling for silence. She pointed toward a ridge about 100 meters away. There, watching them with unblinking amber eyes, sat a massive tiger. Storm had come to observe the release of her cubs. The sunlight made her orange coat glow like fire. For a long moment, the tiger and the group of aliens and humans stared at each other across the distance. Then, with a flick of her tail, Storm turned and melted into the forest. Magnificent, whispered Dr. Kelvin. Truly magnificent. On the shuttle returning to the space station, Taejun sat beside Dr. Kelvin, watching Earth grow smaller through the viewport. I have a question, said the alien scientist. One that has bothered me since the mountain rescue. What's that? Asked Taejun. How did humans become so adept at forming connections with creatures that could kill them? No other species we know of has developed this ability to the same degree. Taejun thought for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Perhaps it's because we were never the strongest or fastest creatures on our world. We couldn't dominate through physical power alone. We had to understand, to communicate, to find common ground. But the risk is always there, Taejun agreed. Every time Do-yeon works with Storm, there's danger. But without risk, there's no trust, and without trust, there's no real connection. Dr. Kelvin's many-lidded eyes blinked slowly. I wonder if my people could learn this skill. Why not? Said Taejun. It's not unique to humans. It's just a choice, to see other creatures not as threats or resources, but as potential partners. Doctor? Kelvin looked back at the blue-green planet now small in the distance. Perhaps the real question, he said softly, is not how humans learn to tame death-world beasts, but why the rest of us never tried. Taejun smiled. That, Doctor, is exactly the kind of question I hope our new partnership will help us answer. As the shuttle accelerated toward the stars, Earth continued its silent spin below them. A world that the galaxy had labeled a death world, but that its inhabitants simply called home. A world where humans had learned that the most dangerous creatures could become the most loyal allies, and where understanding could transform fear into respect. A world that the galaxy was finally beginning to understand.